Hey there, fellow Wanglers. I'm WangleLine and I like glitches. Glitches are very nice and you can make glitches at home using very free plugins. If you want more videos about sound design, go onto Patreon and support my shit. Thank you. Glitch, an error in a structured system. It is usually applied to electrical and computer systems. So basically, broken stuff. I myself think that glitches sound extremely nice and you can actually create a lot of different things with them. For example, in my own music, I often use glitch samples to add very subtle rhythmic elements to the tracks. Or in some cases, when there are very ambient and calm parts, I add high-pitched glitches to add more spice, you know, so it's not as boring. And here are some examples of glitches being utilized in songs very, very well. But you probably already know all of that, so let's just get started. Step 1, it's pretty easy, just pick a random song or a sound, like a sample from your huge anime sample collection or something, and put it in your DAW. Okay, and now for step 2, I want you to download 2 plugins which are called Glitch Machine's Fracture and Glitch Machine's Hysteresis. Those are free plugins, and these 2 plugins are designed in such ways that the resulting samples or the resulting sounds you get will always sound very randomized and glitchy and somewhat broken. So these plugins are exactly what we want for this project. When you load these plugins into your DAW for the first time, you might feel a little bit overwhelmed by the vast amount of buttons and the complex interface, but in this episode we're not focusing on that. The one and only button that we're going to utilize in this technique is the randomize button. In the Fracture plugin it's this button, and in Hysteresis it's this one. So slap those plugins onto your sound and press randomize as often as you want until you get a nice sound that you're happy with. If you're still not satisfied with the complexity of the sounds, you can, and bear with me, this is a pro tip, layer the plugins. I personally feel like just a couple of instances of Fracture Hysteresis doesn't really do the job. I usually combine it with other plugins and effects like distortion, a flank, a reverb or delays, anything you want. So basically the possibilities are endless and you're always going to get different sounds from this. If you want even more complexity to your glitches and sounds, consider layering not just the effects but also the raw sounds. Sometimes I just go through old project files and slap all these different effects on the master channel just to see what happens. Usually it sounds really nice and interesting because it messes with the already existing plugins and effects in the song. Oh, and by the way, you can combine this technique with other techniques I've showed you, for example the extreme compression artifact technique, which I showcased in the first episode of the series. As always, experimentation is key to good sound design. Anyway, let's get back to what we're doing right now. So we just have to press record, and while recording we can play with all the different settings of the plugins, with the order of the plugins and possibly the input sounds. You know, just slam that randomize button until you get the sound you want and save the file. And here comes the final step, which is chopping up the samples into smaller bits and fragments and... So I'll just start off by creating a new folder on my desktop and opening Audacity. And to make your life even easier, here's a pro tip for all Audacity users. Just make yourself 3 simple shortcuts. One for normalizing your selected area, one for fading out your selection, and one hotkey for quickly exporting or saving your selection. These hotkeys made the tedious task of chopping up samples, which I have to do quite frequently as a sound designer, way less tedious and annoying. And also my efficiency probably increased by a gazillion%. And now it's up to you to further process and utilize those glitchy sounds in your music. And if you're still not satisfied and you're still not happy with the sounds, just try resampling. Resampling in this case is just basically a fancy term for repeating all the steps but using your glitchy sounds as your input. If you have been enjoying this show and you have a spare dollar and want to support me, there's a link to my Patreon page in the description down below, so if you want to support me, you can go for it. And fuck. Thank you very, very much for all of your support, and I'd also like to mention my current patrons, which are ThatsMyJam, Donutsen, and ScotcherDev. Thank you for all of your support, and maybe future patrons also thanks to you, and I hope you're having an absolutely beautiful day. So I'm WangleLine, also known as Lion. See ya!